Right, so we're here before the big kick-off. What's your score expectations and who's going to score?
I've gone for 3-1.
I've got exactly the same. I think Tony's going to come back and bite you on the backside with an early goal, but I think we've got enough to overcome them.
Yeah, I think Wilson will score for us with a Miggy goal in between that. Yeah. So
you mentioned Callum Wilson and Ivan Toney. In terms of England, the pecking order, which one's higher?
Me, at the minute, for form-wise, I think Toney.
Aye.
Definitely. But
I think Callum Wilson, he's a bit injury-prone at the minute, but with him signing his new 2-year deal, fingers crossed he's in the right direction now.
Where would you put Callum Wilson in the England strikers list? Third choice, fourth choice, where would you say?
I think he's got to be up there. I mean, Harry Kane speaks for himself. Looking at what else England has got, there's not really, personally speaking, there's not really a great deal that is up there.
No.
And I think if Callum Wilson can improve this, become over his prone injuries crisis, then I think it will be up there. I think within the next, if he can keep on proving that he's still can score for Newcastle, I think it'll be up there for at least to be there. Like,
if we forget about England for a second, get back to Newcastle. Is he Newcastle's main striker, or is Isak going to take that?
Nah, I think Wilson is my main striker. I think when Isak come in, I was very impressed with him for a 22-year-old. I think. I'm now concerned about the injury. For a young lad, he scored a good goal. He scored a penalty. He's missed a sitter. So yes, let's see. I think prospect-wise, he's there, but let's see over the next season.
Yeah. The other end of the pitch, he had his call-up for England. What did you think of that? And is he just behind Pickford? Is he going to be ahead? Is he number 3? Is that performance knock him down?
I think it's one of them things. I mean, he got slated for his performance against England, but
was that right or?
Nah.
I'll be honest, I'm not going to comment because I missed the game.
Nah, I've seen the game and I thought he did all right, but at the end of the day, Pickford's had some bloomers as well. Yep. So for me, it's a one-off thing. He's proved himself what he's capable of, and I think
club-wise. So
yeah, I think it'd be England's number 1 within the next season or 2.
Right. Okay. And very recently, it was a year ago since the takeover. When that day happened, is this where you expected Newcastle to be 12 months' time?
I think it's better.
Exceeded expectations.
I think it's better. We're up there. We're in the top 8 now, with a couple of games with the day, another 3 points a day. But I think top 10 this season, and I think within 2 seasons, I think we'll be challenging for up there.
I was going to say, yes. A lot of fans were like, literally when the takeover came out, it's like, oh, we're going to sign Mbappe, we're going to sign Messi, we're going to sign. Obviously, you've got financial fair play to come into, and I think Newcastle spent fantastically. But to me, they're doing it on the pitch. I mean, coming to games 20 years ago, it was like, I think it was a drain on some people. It was like, oh, we've got to get in the match. But look at the buzz around the city. To me, that it's one of the biggest things is the buzz around Newcastle now. People are excited. The club are going forward, so I would have said, similar to John, 2 to 3 years' time, I would have said, definitely would be looking for a top 6 finish. Looking at the statement from the chairman, he's looked at investment and things like that. Money isn't an object, but money doesn't buy you success. So I think a lot of fans just need to just calm their Hondas a bit and just sit back and just let the club do what they're doing.
Yeah, you've got that range of football fans, the Mbappe ones, the realistic ones, the all sorts of.
You've got to be realistic. We've got Callum Wilson's. We've got a team now that's successful, bringing the team forward. We've got a management team there that's successful. We've got the owners that are successful. Let's just be patient. Let's look at 2 or 3 years' time and be more realistic.
Yeah, and obviously, if we are going to improve, who would you say is the next person to be fetched in next window?
Maddison.
I think Maddison and Tielemans for me.
Do you think midfield's the weakest position at Newcastle?
I wouldn't have said it was weak. I think it's the one that they're working harder than anybody else. So they're predominantly they are going to pick up injuries. They're going to pick up knocks. But it's great to see the midfield that we've got are they're just covering. I mean, Almiron last season, I think a lot of social media were like, who's he? Why have we got him? And this season he's proven that Eddie's stuck with him. His goals that he scored, it was like, well, it was so much easier for him to, I'll just take him with my right foot, but obviously Miggy being Miggy, I'll just be awkward and I'll just take him with my left foot, I'll dink it out with the keeper, and there you go.
And I mean, he's gone from someone kind of on the bench to someone at the minute. Pre-season,
He has to start.
Yeah.
It's written.
For me, you've got to look at it. I criticised Joe Linton. I slated Joe Linton.
I think you're with everyone.
Last season.
Everybody slated Joe Linton. It was like, well, we've paid 40 million quid for this player, and he's just not. He's not what we want. But now the takeovers came in. Eddie Howe's took him to one side, had a few words with him, and for me, other than when since we brought Nick Pope in, for me, Joe Linton and Bruno are literally the first name on the team sheet.
I mean, with Joe Linton, is it a case of, is that all Eddie Howe, or is it because he was playing in maybe a wrong position, he's also played a different position? Is it down to that, or is it Eddie Howe?
I think it's Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe is actually, he's transformed that team. He's transformed the players. He's put belief into the heart again. Under the previous management, there was nothing there. There was no organisation. There was no heart. For what the owners have brought in with the new management, them bringing the money in, not so much the money, just the passion back to Newcastle United. You know what it is? We don't need to win the day. Just seeing these players here, just seeing the support here, just the passion back. If that team gives a 100% commitment and loses 2-0, we're behind them.
100%. It's all we need.
Right, so we're here with Brentford fan.
Charlie,
Ahead of the big kick-off, what score are you expecting and what's goal scorers?
score that I want, probably 2-1 Brentford. Realistically, more like 3-1 Newcastle, I think, sadly.
Yeah, okay. And
Sadly for me.
Yeah, sadly for you guys, yeah. You've had a good start of the season already. What do you put that down to? Is it Ivan Toney? Is it the team spirit, the manager?
Definitely a team spirit. I think we've actually got something really quite special in the Premier League. There's a real togetherness. The manager, Thomas Frank, gets the players, gets the fans. Really, I think he's really indispensable to the whole setup. I think the ownership structure, it's a really good foundation for any club, and I think that's at the heart of how we've done both last season and this season, to be honest.
And your star man, Ivan Toney, was that wrong to say?
No, absolutely our star man. I think there was a point at the end of last season when there was a whole debate about which one would we keep of Eriksen or Toney. As it turns out, obviously losing Eriksen maybe hasn't made that much of an effect that I thought it was going to make, but Ivan Toney is... without him, we can't play. Our whole system relies on having the big man up front, somebody who can hold up play. He's incredibly generous for a centre forward. The tracking back he does, his tactical understanding is fantastic. Pretty glad that you guys let him go so early on so we could pick him up from Peterborough. So.
It was for a bargain as well. We didn't even get that much for him. Speaking of Ivan Toney, he has had controversies where he's spoken out and been caught on camera. Is that bothering the Brentford fans, or is it kind of something that just brush off because he's a star man?
That's actually a really interesting point because it does irritate us fans. Like, we all kind of think he's a bit of a dick for saying that. I think all of us sort of know we're not the biggest club. We're not even the biggest club in West London, let alone kind of London. So there is an element of truth, but to say it once is everybody gets drunk and says something. To say it again is... It's kind of taking the mickey a little bit.
Is it all forgiven or still a little bit?
If he stops scoring the goals and we sign a new centre forward, maybe it'll be less forgiven. But at the moment, you can't argue with the talent he's got, and the man is so central to how we do and the style of play we have, and also he's a bloody good player. So essentially, it does all get forgiven. Yeah.
Yeah. And is he going to be a future England international? Obviously, Harry Kane, he was talked about.
He's one of them players like James Maddison. I feel like Gareth Southgate gets a lot of flack for maybe being a little bit too sticks to the players he's played before. And I think Ivan Toney is one of those forwards that you think, well, if Kane gets injured, God forbid, or just needs a rest, what English centre forward, is going to be able to do the same style of play as Harry Kane?
Is he number 2, number 3, number 4 in the pecking order?
I say he should be number 2, but the way Southgate plays it, he's currently 4?
Would you put him ahead of Callum Wilson?
Yeah, he's less injury prone, to be honest. That's the main factor, I would say. And Wilson's 29?
Yeah.
he's got an extra few years in the tank for England, I think, if Tony got those caps in now.
And you've had a good start of the season. Are you expecting to keep that up? Where are you expecting to finish at the end of the season?
I reckon, realistically, we could actually come top 10. And by top 10, I mean 10 or 9. I think anything higher than that is getting a bit ahead in the clouds. But I think we can finish 10th or 9th.
And just from an outside perspective, where are you expecting Newcastle to finish at the end of the season? And also, who are you most worried about facing today?
I mean, when you're all flaring, you've got a hell of a front kind of 3-4. If Sir Maximin plays, Wilson plays, Alexander Isak, they're a great trio. But also Bruno what a hell of a signing he was. And admittedly, you paid quite a fair bit for him, but bloody hell, he's turned out well. I think he's probably the danger man. I think he's also the style we play in the midfield 3 we've got. He's most likely to cause us some problems. I don't think how we'd be able to kind of track him down as well as we should. And I think, hell, you've had a lot of talk since the takeover. There was all that talk about, Champions League straight away. I don't think that's going to happen. I think
one year ago yesterday, yeah.
I know, incredible turnaround from relegation zone to. I think you should be disappointed if you're not knocking on the door of Europa League. You might end up in the conference, which is, more of a curse than a blessing. But I think that's where you should be aiming for. And I'd be disappointed if I were a Newcastle fan and I wasn't kind of coming in those European places.
Okay, then, so we're here with 3 Newcastle fans ahead of the big kick-off. What's the score prediction and goal
2-0.
scorers? 2-0?
2-0.
Goal scorers?
Wilson 2 goals.
Yeah.
3-1, Wilson 2, Almiron 1.
I think 2-1. I think there'll be goals either way.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And it's a year since the takeover happened, literally yesterday. Is this where you expected Newcastle to be, or any change?
My expectations have just surpassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's same really, repeat that. I think we're above where we expected, so happy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, top half of the table can't be bad, can it?
Exactly. And where are you expecting at the end of the season to finish?
Top 8.
Top 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, top 8, push for European, push for 6th.
Yeah, top 8. I think top 8, pushing for top 6 would be great.
Yeah, and a lot of that might come down to who we sign in January.
Yeah, exactly.
What sort of position do you think needs strengthening the most?
Right wing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd
Even though
say
Almiron's
Have you got someone in mind?
Good question. Madison.
Madison?
Say Madison.
Love Madison. Love Madison.
I think we need some more depth, I think, going forward, because the thing is, like, Wilson's great, but he's never going to play a full season. Isak is still adjusting. He got isolated out of the game at Bournemouth.
Starting 11.
We need more going forward,
yeah.
I think, personally.
And we obviously mentioned Madison there. He's in the form of his life at the
He is
moment
at the
again.
moment, yeah,
Is it
yeah.
realistic to get him, or is that?
I can't imagine Leicester wanting to part company with him, to be honest with you, but fingers crossed we can get him.
We'll test him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to think we'll get him, but like I say, it depends.
It's a lot of money.
Is it? Yeah,
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, they knock back some big offers.
Yeah. It's
Before
going to take at least £60 million
Yeah.
to get his signature.
In 12 months' time, obviously it's 12 months since the takeover.
Yeah.
What are you honestly expecting in the next 12 months? Where will we be in 12 months' time?
In 12 months' time, we'll be targeting top 6. Hopefully.
Right. Yeah, top 6.
Yeah. I'd like to think we'll be in Europe in some form or another by beginning of next season. We'll be in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still not announced the team sheets, by the way, just for those watching. St. Maximin's still a
Hope
doubt
he
maybe
plays.
that he's
Hope he
starting.
starts.
Yeah, is he a star man who would do something, or is it Bruno now? Or
Got
who?
him, Bruno.
Bruno
Don't
pulls the strings.
ignore Wilson
Bruno
either.
pulls the strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Wilson starts, our team is completely different going forward.
When our strikers are all fit, is Wilson our starter or is Isaac?
Easily. Wilson, 100%.
We've got some possibles over here.
Maybe both. Maybe both.
4-4-2 then.
Maybe. We'll play Isaac on one of the
wing.
on the right or the left. Yeah.
If we did play 4-4-2, that means someone has to drop out. Who are you dropping?
I'm not dropping Miggy.
No.
No.
He's in the
Not
form
at the
of his
moment.
life. Yeah.
Not at the moment.
Tough question, that one.
Isaac on the bench.
Yeah.
Miggy
Yeah,
starts
go with that.
at the moment.
And then Impact sub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miggy starts all day long at the moment.
Yeah, so we're here with Chi ahead of the big kickoff. So we want to know firstly, before we get into anything else, what's your score prediction?
Well, my score prediction is 3-1 to Newcastle.
Newcastle, yeah. Have you got any expectations on goal scorers?
I think we've got a really good. Yes, but yes, we've got. I'm not going to try and jinx it by saying who I think is going to score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we noticed you are just with the food bank, obviously communicating with them. What's the relationship with the food bank?
Well, I just think what the work that the food bank does is absolutely amazing, and I just think also, like, and especially now with the cost of living crisis that we have, like, I often come up here and I sort of shake the bucket for a while, and just seeing people going past, fans going past, all ages, like, you know, and the parents pushing forward their kids to go and give money into the food bank. I just think that shows amazing, like, generosity, and it just shows the spirit of Newcastle United fans, you know, and what our city and also what the club is about, because I think the club's been very supportive of the food bank as well.
Yeah, obviously, you mentioned the cost of living crisis. It's obviously always worse for the food banks around Christmas. Is it likely, in your opinion, to get worse or get better, or?
Unfortunately, with the actions of, the sort of the crashing our financial system, like, not to go into the detail of it, but everybody's seeing the chaos that we've got on the markets, and that means that interest rates are going up, mortgage rates are going up, small businesses who have loans, they're going to be paying back more, and people are already facing the wages not going up as fast as prices are going up. So I'm afraid, and I know I have constituents who, I was speaking to a constituent just last weekend who went to a food bank for the first time, and, you know, that there's going to be more demand and less people are going to be have the money to do it, unfortunately.
I mean, we did interview a food bank last week, and they said demands went up 66% from last year, and that's following COVID as well.
So if it went up hugely during COVID, it's also gone up as a consequence of 12 years of conservative austerity. So they were slashing everything. Yeah, I mean, I think we should be ashamed that we're the 7th richest country in the world, we have people who need to go to food banks. But given that we do, I think we should be really proud of the response of our city and our region.
Yeah, and the region obviously well behind the community effort sort of thing with the food banks and stuff like that. Great Northeast community.
Generous Geordies, best in the world, you know. And I also say, you know, Liverpool might have won Eurovision, and, you know, I'm sure they'll do a good job. But we are the welcoming, passionate, generous city that has welcomed Ukrainians and has supported, you know, people in need for centuries.
Yeah, and is there anything you want to say to the Newcastle fans in particular?
Well, I want to say that it's it's great to see Newcastle, the club, doing better. It's fantastic that we managed to get rid of Mike Ashley. I think we've got to remember what our city is about, you know, and I know that we're all united in the values that Newcastle supports, openness and social justice, but also in supporting Newcastle United, and I'm hoping that we will see some silverware soon.
So, like many, not a fan of Mike Ashley, I take it, no?
I think you can say that. I think that's certainly what I made sure that he was aware of.
Right, okay then, so we're here ahead of the big match with
James.
Luke, and obviously there's a train strike on at the moment, so how have you getting here and what time did you set off?
So we got in the car this morning at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's been a long drive, yeah.
And will it be worth it? What score are you expecting, and who are you expecting to be the goal scorers?
I'll take a 2-1 Brentford, yeah.
2-1 Brentford, yeah.
Yeah, definitely think Ivan Toney will get a goal.
And Damsgaard, I think he should get his first goal soon.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Ivan Toney. He's an ex-Mag, picked up for relatively cheap. He's now an England international, kind of. He's in the setup. Firstly, what do you think of him, and where is he in the England setup? Obviously, Harry Kane's number 1. Is he number 2, 3, 4? What are we saying?
Well, in terms of like goal scorers, I think he's like number 3 so far. So hopefully he gets picks. Like, from a Brentford perspective, I hope he gets picked, and I think he should.
You think he's number 3?
Yeah.
Who's number 2?
Probably Tammy Abraham, and then Harry Kane. Yeah, top, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with him.
Yeah. And you have had a good start of the season. What are you putting that down to? Is it Tony? Is it the manager? Is it what?
Bit of everything.
I think it's the team.
Yeah.
I think it's just great service, and he's a top goal scorer and top finisher. So I think it's a bit of both, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, big respect for Brentford this year.
Yeah. There was a little bit of controversy with Ivan Toney. He's obviously dragged you through the mud a little bit. How are you interpreting that? Is that fine because he's a star striker, or is it still a bit salty, or is it totally forgiven, or what?
It's in the past.
Yeah,
just move
let
on.
it go.
Just move on, yeah.
And where are you expecting? You've already had a good start of the season. Where are you expecting to end up at the end of the season?
I would say I love 10th.
Yeah, I'd
So
go
I
with
would say 10th, yeah, mid-table.
10th, yeah,
At
mid-table.
worst, yeah.
You're known for having a tiny budget. Is that realistic? You're obviously well punching above your weight if you do manage to get that.
Capable. I think,
Yeah,
with the
100%.
system we've got, bringing in young players and developing them to be star players, I think we could do it. Yeah.
And do you think you can keep a hold of Ivan Toney? That's probably the $1 million question.
That
for
is the
him.
$1 million
If he
question.
gets picked in Qatar, I think we'll have a tough time. But
Yeah.
fingers crossed he stays loyal to Brentford and he stays with us. I'd love him to stay.
Yeah.
I don't think he will, though. Don't
No.
think so.
No. And from the opposition fans' perspective, what are you thinking about Newcastle? Who's the star man to worry about? And where do you think Newcastle's going to end up at the end of the season?
I think if Sir Maximin's playing, I think he's probably your star man.
Is he the star? Yeah, he's
Yeah,
the star.
I think he is. And with what the team you've got, the squad you've got, I reckon European potentially, I think you could push for that. Yeah, I think of that.
Yeah.
And it's 1 year ago yesterday since the Newcastle takeover. From an outsider's perspective, is this where you kind of expecting Newcastle to be 1 year on, or
I think with time to develop your squads and just the time to kind of settle in with the new owners and new manager as well, Eddie Howe, I think it's a really solid start. Really, I think you can push a lot higher. But where you are now, you're on. I think it's good.
what's your thoughts score-wise and goal scorers?
But to be honest, all I'm looking for is 3 points. I don't care who puts the ball in the back of the net. The one person we got to look out for is the ex-Newcastle player that now plays for them. But in fairness, I've travelled a long way. I've come all the way up from Southampton. I came up yesterday. I've supported Newcastle all my life. Hence why I've got a southern accent, not a Geordie accent. But my mother was born in Holt Whistle. My family were raised in Holt Whistle. Little place called Westlands. I love the North East. If I had my way, I'd be living in the North East. But I've got a wife that's a southern girl and she won't come up here. My son's moved up. My grandson lives here now, or two of my grandsons live here. And to be honest, my main objective is 3 points today. And if we can finish in the top 6 and maybe get European, then it's been a season worth having.
Yeah, I mean, what's brought you up for this game in particular? Because it's not exactly a Man U, a Man City match. What's brought you up for this one?
To be honest, it's work commitments. I've had to get this game around what I do at work. And believe it or not, I work on a maintenance on a student accommodation. So I've had to sort of arrange my life around the students. And we drove up yesterday. We had a good drive up. But all I'm after today is 3 points. It's Eddie Howe's Black and White Army. Let's bring back the Keegan era. Let's bring back the Bobby Robson era. Let's go further back. Let's start lifting trophies like Bobby Moncur did. And to me, all I want is another 2 trips to Wembley. But this time, instead of taking my son, I'll take my son and my grandson. And hopefully the results will go our way.
Well, speaking of him, he's got a lovely flag going, part of the Brazilian Revolution, yeah? Are you big fans of all the Brazilian players?
Yeah, I am.
Have you got a favourite?
No.
Just all of them equally, yeah?
You love Bruno.
Bruno, yeah?
Bruno and Jolinton.
Oh, yeah, man reborn. So where's your expectations then for the end of the season finish?
Top 10, hopefully top 6. Better still, top 4.
Yeah.
I reckon top 8.
Top 8?
Yeah. 8 or 7, I reckon.
Yeah, and you've listed a lot of Newcastle's past there. 12 months ago, it was the takeover. Is this kind of where you expected Newcastle to be at that point, 12 months' time?
No. To be honest, no. The football they're playing at the moment is fantastic. Eddie Howe's done a great job. Not only Eddie Howe, but his backroom staff, bringing in players. The players that they've brought in have made a big difference. Kieran Trippier's free kicks, well, what more could you ask for? I mean, in fairness, if there was one player I'd like to see playing at Newcastle United, and I'm going to get murdered for this when I go back home, and that is Southampton's best free kick taker, Ward-Prowse. If we had Ward-Prowse in midfield, along with Kieran Trippier, then we'd probably have the 2 best free kick takers in the Premier League.
So that's obviously a transfer for January potentially. Is that a position that you feel is Newcastle's weakness, that we need someone in? We're linked with Maddison in the January window.
To be honest, I don't think we need that. But it would screw one over on Southampton if we nick Ward-Prowse. And that would make me very happy.
What position would you like to see strengthened in the next window?
To be honest, I don't think we need to really strengthen anything. I mean, Eddie Howe has done the job. They've got players in the right positions. And it's getting to the stage now where do you play people? We've got John Joe Shelvey waiting to come back. And John Joe Shelvey's one of the best passers of a ball in the Premier League. I mean, he can put it on a sixpence if you asked him to. But where are you going to strengthen now? I think now is the time to settle, work on the team, get St Maximum and Bruno flying. What more could you ask for?
And last question, 12 months ago since the takeover, next 12 months, what's going to happen month 12? Where are we going to be?
Well, hopefully Eddie Howe will still be here. Hopefully we'll be up around the top of the table. And here's hoping that maybe there's a bit of silverware.
What do you think as well? 12 months' time, where do you think Newcastle will be?
I reckon we'll be Europa League at the most.
We're here ahead of the big match with
Manu,
and what are your expectations for this game score-wise, and who's going to be the goal scorers?
I think the general expectation is a win based on form, based on some players that are back from injury. So do you want a score prediction?
Yeah.
I'd say probably 2-0 or 2-1.
2-0, yeah.
Yeah. Scorers, I think for Newcastle, you're looking at. I think Callum Wilson's always, he's a great goal poacher. I think he'll get on the score sheet. Almiron's in great form as well. And then sadly, I think Ivan Toney's probably going to score as well.
He's an ex-Newcastle player.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think a 1 or 2 goal margin, but I think based on form, they should get a result. I don't want to tempt fate, but I think they should get a result.
A lot of draws this season where we're thinking maybe could have been 3 points,
Yeah, well, there's been some very questionable refereeing decisions. So hopefully it should even itself out over the course of the season.
And it's 1 year ago yesterday since the Newcastle takeover. Obviously a great thing for the club and everything like that. Is this where you expected it when it was takeover day, or did you have any other expectations?
I think, to be honest with you, a year ago, I think the general expectation were things were going to get better, but there were some wild expectations a year ago, and I think the way they've approached it in this really sort of tactful manner, and realising that we're not Man City of 2008, wasn't it? 2007,
Well, there was no financial fair play.
Exactly. So, but also they've been very, very intelligent in the market and doing in this sort of gradual, stepwise progress is better than it's a marathon, not a sprint. If they want to achieve their goal of being competitive for trophies and domestically and in Europe. So I think what they're doing is just brilliant. I think Eddie Howe is what a fantastic person, as well as a.
Who's been his best signing? Obviously a few to choose from.
I think his best signing is probably controversially been Joe Linton, who wasn't his signing, of course, but he's transformed a player who was, let's be honest, was out dead and buried, had a lot of critics, and he's revolutionised that play. And we've never had the benefit of a coach since really Bobby Robson. So the way he's coaching the team is just it's a good example for other coaches around the country, I suppose. I'm not of a footballing background myself, but I just think the way his man management is it draws parallels with Bobby Robson, I think.
Obviously the takeover was 12 months ago. What's your expectations for the next 12 months?
12 months. So I was saying to you before, it's like being in a job interview and being asked where you hope to be in 5 years' time. I think challenging for European places. I think that would be the goal for 12 months' time, and getting to the latter stages of domestic competitions.
That's a difficult one because we need a bigger squad. We need a bit more depth in the squad. They know that.